Today we have Katie Kaiser Smith. She has been married for 22 years, is a mother of 2 children, a published author, and child development specialist. At 41 years old, Katie was diagnosed with brain cancer. She immediately started writing a daily diary about her journey that paved the way for her book, Welcome to Katie's Brain. She is here today to share her story with us.
Hello. Thank
Hi.
you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome to our little cozy studio.
This is really cozy. I do feel like I'm between 2 trees.
That is the goal.
You are.
Yeah.
We are nestled in our little forest here.
In LA.
In LA, right, our little LA forest. Where are you from?
I'm from the Valley. I was born and raised in Southern California, second generation native Californian. And I was born in the Valley. I lived in Hollywood for a few years and then moved back to the Valley. So I'm a Valley girl.
A true Valley girl.
A true Valley girl, you know?
I've always wanted to meet one of you.
Yeah.
Yay! How was your childhood? How was it growing up here?
It was great. We moved to Hidden Hills, Calabasas area when I was 7, and it was a great. It was nothing like it is now. It was it was just mountains. We had horses and sheep and chickens, and we just had. It was empty. So now it's all car dealerships and malls and things like that. It wasn't anything like that when we moved out there. I thought I was driving to another state when we were driving because there was nothing. I'm like, where are we going? Anyway, it was lovely moving out there.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Older or younger?
She's 2 years older.
I have a sister that's 2 years older.
Really?
Yeah. We're very close.
Oh,
People thought we were twins growing up.
We're not close.
No. I guess that happens, though. If you're very close in age, you're either friendship-wise very close or it's just not a good mix.
No, it wasn't a good mix.
Yeah.
We were close when we were really little, but then something happened and shifted, and she went one direction and I went the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still that way? You don't have contact with her?
We don't have contact, no. I know I wished I had a sister that I was close to, like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have great friends, wonderful friends that I've known since, my best friend I've known since 10th grade. So friends for almost 40 years. It's great. Yeah. I love that.
That's a chosen family.
It's my chosen family. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I say to my daughter, too. She's an only child. And it's like, you can choose your...
How old is she?
She's 10.
10.
You can choose your sisters and brothers.
Exactly. I have 2. I have a son who is now 19, and my daughter's 5 years younger. She just turned 14. And they're pretty close, which I love. It's so great. I wished I had a brother, an older brother. I had to take care of you and protect you. And he's very protective of her, which is so nice. Helps her with her homework. And it's so sweet. I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably important to you as a mother to make sure that they were close or to do what you could to make sure that they were close.
Yeah. He was so sweet. When he was 5, he prayed for a little sister, which was just so sweet. And then he got it. And now when he's mad at her, I remind him, you prayed for her. You wanted this. You can't get in my room. Keep her out of my room. So, yeah, I have to remind him that that's just what he wanted.
Yes, he asked for this.
Yeah, well, asked for that. Yeah. So anyway, but no, they are pretty close. It's really, as close as 2 kids who are the opposite sex and 5 years apart can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always say, like, when you're 20 and he's 25, it's really not going to feel like you're that much apart. It's going to be much different.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's sweet because sometimes he'll pick her up from school for me, which is nice.
Oh, no.
Oh, that is
Right?
so nice.
That is so
cute.
nice. Yeah.
And also must be a cool experience for her
Yeah.
to be picked up by her older brother.
Yeah. She says, take me to go get food. And they go to, Chipotle together. And it's like, it's nice.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's still home?
He's still home. He's going to community college right down the street. So he's staying
nice.
home
So
with us.
staying home.
Yeah. For right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't want them to leave.
Yeah.
What's her plan? Does she have
She's
big
just about to
plans?
enter high school. And I think right now she's just switched career paths. She wants to be a personal chef.
Oh, interesting.
She loves to
love
cook.
that.
And she'll eat anything, which I think you have to be if you want to be a chef.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and she'll eat anything. She'll try anything. She loves to cook. She won't eat our food. She won't touch anything I make or my husband makes.
Oh, that's
she
funny.
she has to make it, and she's happy to cook for us, but she won't touch anything we make. It's very rare.
Yeah.
She packs her own lunch. She makes her own dinner. She's funny that way, but she'll eat all kinds of crazy food.
What was the wildest thing that she ate?
Well, she asked for caviar for her birthday.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm telling you, she's expensive. She's going to be a very expensive date.
Yes.
Sushi, octopus. When she was like 3, I have a picture of her chewing on some octopus.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
Yeah, no, she's funny.
Wow. That's great though.
And loves very much spicy food, very spicy food.
I love it.
Yeah, always has.
Interesting. So she's going to be a great chef.
I think so. Yeah.
And what does Lucky want to do?
He's already working in film. He's doing PA work. He loves it. He wants to do behind the scenes film stuff. And he gets to try out, right now he's doing all kinds of PA work. So he gets to try out lighting and building sets and all kinds of cool different jobs. So he's going to just do this and figure out what he wants to do. If he wants to do lighting or editing, he's just great because he's working in the business that he wants to do, which is so rare at his age to be able to do that.
Oh, so, yeah. Normally you just job somewhere.
Well, he also works at Denny's on the weekends.
Oh,
yeah.
So he's had that job since he was, 17, but then to be able to work on sets has been a luxury for him. And he's making good money and putting it away and,
gaining experience.
Gaining a lot of experience and making connections. So
yes, very important.
He's very happy. Yeah.
What did you want to do when you were their age?
Oh, gosh. I don't think, growing up in the 70s with a mom who was raised in the 50s, it was you go to college to get your MRS degree. You know what I mean? You go there to, Mrs. Mm-hmm. You go there to find a man and get married, right? That's what you did.
That was your parents' plan?
That was my mom's plan. My parents were divorced. Mm-hmm. My dad wanted me to go to college. My mom, it wasn't that important. So, I went there not really knowing what I wanted to do. I thought, okay, I like working with kids. I nannied for years and years and years. I'll study child development. And so I majored in that, but I knew I didn't want to be a teacher because as much as I liked kids, I don't really love other people's kids.
We can relate.
Don't we all? Oh my goodness, I can relate. So, yeah.
I didn't want to be, with child development degree, you either can be a preschool teacher or a daycare worker. And I'm like, I don't want to do either one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I liked working with parents. So I thought, I'm going to kind of create my own job. I'd heard about people who were sleep consultants and behavior specialists. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with parents. All of my years of nannying and then being a mom, I'd learned a lot about child behavior and sleep issues and things like that. So I just kind of created my own job out of thin air and just started marketing myself as a sleep consultant and behavior specialist. So I helped kids who couldn't fall asleep on their own, couldn't sleep in their own bed, still having tantrums at 8 years old and 9 years old and all those kinds of things. So that's what I ended up doing. I did that for years until I became sick.
So where were you in your career when you got diagnosed?
I've been working about 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in your personal life, you were married?
We were married. I think we had been married about 10 years at that point. And my son, Lucky, his name's Lucky, he was 6 when I got diagnosed. And my daughter, Haven, was 15 months old. So she was still a baby, still nursing, was right in the midst of babyhood and raising my 6-year-old. So we were still adjusting to a new baby. And so it was the rug had definitely been pulled out from under us. We had a lot of trouble having kids. I had 4 miscarriages and multiple surgeries and things like that. And so we thought, okay, we're done with all the medical issues. We have our 2 kids. We're happy. We have everything we wanted. And now here comes this brain cancer. Like who would have thought? That's just such a weird, I have no family history of anything like that at all. And so it's just was so random and just bizarre and just took us for complete shock and surprise.
What did you notice first? What were the symptoms?
Yeah, it was really weird because I didn't have any typical brain cancer symptoms or even brain tumor. It's usually kind of like dizziness, nausea, headaches. I didn't even have a headache. Seizures. I had none of that. I had a little bit of weakness in my left arm, like I was blow drying my hair and my arm felt really tired. Like it felt like I had a 20-pound weight attached to my hairdryer. And I thought, oh, I'm just weak, I need to work out. But I'd have to rest my arm. And I had a little bit of tingling in my left hand fingers. But it was nothing, I just kind of wrote it off. This is, nothing, whatever, And so I started noticing, obviously I just had a baby. I'm carrying my diaper bag, my baby, my purse, all with my left hand, my left shoulder.
Right.
So I thought, it's a pinched nerve, obviously, something with my neck. So I went to a chiropractor and he said, definitely this is something that's going on with your neck, your shoulder. So he worked on me for a couple weeks and it didn't get better. It started getting worse. And one night I'm just sitting on the couch with Micah, my husband, and I'm noticing that there's things that I can't do with my left hand that I can do with my right, like moving my fingers really fast. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do, touching my fingers with my thumb. I couldn't do it with my left hand. It was very slow, like being in quicksand. And so I'm like, okay, this is bad. This is actually bad. There's something wrong. And I thought, oh gosh, I need to go to a doctor. I need to go see somebody. We had a friend who was a parent at our school who was a neurology resident at UCLA. And so I was talking to him and he came over to my house one day and started doing neurological test type of stuff. And when we had talked on the phone, he thought, I might have like a pinched nerve in my elbow or carpal tunnel syndrome, something like that. But when he saw me, he said I had hyperreflexia. It's where you hit your reflexes. My leg jumps crazy amount. And so I didn't really know what it meant, but he said, usually that's something with your brain or your spine. So that's when I kind of started freaking out. I'm like, okay, there's really something wrong here. So then I just kind of got a referral to a neurologist in my neighborhood, and I went to see him, and he suggested I get MRIs of my brain and my spine. So that was the beginning. That's just how it happened. Like I had no symptoms of a brain tumor. You'd think I'd have a headache or something.
Right, or like blurred vision.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah, most people find out they have a brain tumor because they have a seizure. While they're driving or at the store, they just fall and have a seizure. And that's how most people find out. They go to the emergency room, they do a CAT scan or an MRI, and they find a big seizure, a big tumor. That never happened with me. I had no typical symptoms. So I started Googling weakness in one arm and hyperreflexia, and only 3 things come up: brain tumor, MS, multiple sclerosis, or ALS. And so, of course, I'm thinking, crap, I have ALS.
Yeah.
Because I just, that was the worst case scenario. Life.
Googling symptoms is always
a bad idea.
But
we all do it.
It's uncategorically a terrible idea.
We all do it.
We
I
all do it
with everything.
Yeah. It's a terrible idea.
But it's always worst case scenario.
It was always worst case scenario because I had no symptoms of a brain tumor. So I'm like, okay, that eliminates that. I have MS or ALS. So I'm going, God, I hope I have MS. Right? Like how weird, like to root for MS because I know people who have lived a very long time with MS.
Yeah.
But ALS, it has a very short lifespan.
You go for the one that's treatable the best.
That's right.
I mean, it's like,
that's right. And I had completely eliminated brain tumor out of my, choices. So when I went and got my MRI and they found something, a mass, I'm like, oh, wow, I have a brain tumor. This is crazy. So, the next thing that comes up, you start interviewing surgeons. So that's when I started the blog. And that's when I started getting different opinions from different doctors at different hospitals. And they all kind of said, oh, it looks like a grade 2 glioma, which, your brain is made up of glial cells. So tumors are often a glioma. And grade 2 is usually non-cancerous. It's usually benign. So I thought, okay, well, that's pretty good. And every surgeon I went to said it looks like a grade 2 glioma.
How long after you got the MRI? What I always find horrible in these situations is the waiting. For results.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I got the MRI on a Friday afternoon, and my neurologist was out of town. So it was, of course, a Friday afternoon.
That weekend was miserable.
It's more Googling. That's all you can do is more Googling, right?
Yeah. And no sleeping.
No, and it's, okay, what's the best brain tumor and what's the worst brain tumor? Now that I know I have a tumor, what kind of tumor it is.
Did you know immediately? Did they say something? Did you see something? when they did the MRI, I know the technicians who are there are never allowed to say something.
No, they're not allowed to say anything. But what they did was, because my doctor was out of town, they got him on the phone and they said, "Oh, your doctor's on the phone." And I went, "Oh, crap.
Oh,
that's scary, right?"
That is.
And so he just got on the phone and he said, "You have a mass in your brain." I was like, "Oh my God." And I couldn't, your mind goes blank.
Yeah.
What do you say? Well, how big is it? And he said 2 centimeters. And I'm like, "Oh, that's like a golf ball size." Like, okay, that's pretty big. And then my only question that could pop into my head, which was pretty genius, was, is it in an inoperable location, right? Because that's really the key is, can they get it out?
Yeah.
And he said yes. So, okay, all right, at least I know that before I go home and tell my family.
Right.
At least I know those 2 things. So that was it. And he's like, "Come see me on Monday." So anyway.
And then what happened when you saw him?
When I saw him, he's like, this is not my thing. I'm a neurologist. I'm not a specialist in brain tumors. He's like, so he gave me some names of doctors. One was at UCLA. So I had compiled 3 different, my mom really wanted me to go to City of Hope, because they're known for cancer. And so I had 3 different appointments set up. I went to City of Hope and saw their neurologist. I went to UCLA and saw their neurologist. And then I went to Cedars because I had been researching brain cancer, brain tumor surgeons. And, these are like the 3 best, you want to go see. So I always recommend to everybody to get at least 3 opinions whenever you have something, just whatever it is, get 3 opinions because they all differ. Even just little bits, like the one at City of Hope said I'd have to be awake during surgery. And I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense because I know just from reading that's usually when you have to be awake is when it's in your speech area. And it wasn't. So then I went to UCLA and she's like, no, you don't have to be awake. This is not in your speech area. I'm like, I knew it. So then I'm like, okay, City of Hope, you're out. You don't know what you're talking about. Not that I'm dogging City of Hope. I'm sure they're great at other things, but you just get an impression, right? With people, he wasn't smiling. He wasn't friendly. I'm like, okay, I just don't. UCLA, I loved the surgeon. She's like, "Oh yeah, looks like a grade 2. I can get it out." I'm like, "Oh great." But at the time, my insurance company was in a dispute with UCLA. So of course, I loved that woman. She was amazing, but I couldn't go there. So I usually went there for her opinion. So then I ended up going to Cedars and going to their world famous tumorator was his name. They called him the tumorator because he was so well known for this.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, and then it's just a series of more MRIs and brain mapping and all of this stuff where he said he could get out 95% of it. It was in my premotor area, which is the area that initiates movement, and 5% was in my motor area. And if they took that out, I'd be completely paralyzed on my left side permanently. So we opted for the 95%. But then once we were in surgery, he came out 2 hours early and said to my family, "Don't let anyone ever touch this tumor. It's all in her motor area. I can't take any of it out."
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So, but they were able to do a biopsy of it. And then the next week, the biopsy came back as cancer, grade 3 glioma. So it's the long name, anaplastic astrocytoma, which is grade 3 brain cancer. Yeah, you learn all these big fancy long names.
How many grades does
There's
it go?
4 grades.
4.
1 and 2 being benign, 3 and 4 being cancer and very aggressive. So, of course, we were hoping it was a grade 2, like they all thought it was, because it looked like it on the MRIs. It had smooth borders, and it was, all the characteristics of a low grade. But the biopsy had grade 3 cancer cells in it. Now, you don't know when you do a biopsy, you're just getting a little piece. You don't know, did we get all of it out in that one little piece, or is it the whole thing full of more cancer cells? You just don't know. So, of course, I had to follow that up with chemo and radiation and all that stuff. So we ended up doing that.
You do the chemo and the radiation to keep it smaller, what's the, in this case, what's the...
It's brain tumors and brain cancer have really bad prognosis, especially grade 3 and 4, because what they say is that the cancer shoots out like a shotgun blast, and there's cells all over your brain. It's not contained. And so it's not really a matter of if it comes back, but when. So the radiation and chemo are to try and kill all those errant cells that are within all the other areas of your brain. Let's try and kill. Yes, let's try and shrink it if we can. but mostly it's to try and kill all the other stuff and keep it from growing and kill the existing tumor. So yeah, I did surgery, then shortly after radiation and chemo. So that was for 6 weeks, radiation every day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, and chemo every day for 6 weeks.
That's a lot.
It was intense.
How did you deal with that? How did your body deal with that?
They say it makes you tired, which I was tired, but the radiation wasn't bad. It actually, the worst part was it burned my skull, burned my hair off, and burned my scalp. So I had a giant bald spot here, burned all my hair off, and then also burned the hair off on here. So it was like giant, bald, burned skin. It was very painful. And I'd still had a big incision that was trying to heal. So it was like on fire. It was like a really bad sunburn. So that was terrible. I knew I was going to have a big bald spot, but it was a lot bigger than I thought, and I lost way more hair than they told me I was going to lose. So that was kind of shocking and disappointing. But it wasn't bad for me physically, the rest of it. Yeah, you're tired, but it's not bad. Now, the chemo, it's not the same kind of chemo that you get when you have other kinds of cancer, because those chemos don't pass the blood-brain barrier. Your brain tries to protect itself, so there's a very strong thing that doesn't let everything pass through. And so they had a chemo that is specifically will get through that blood-brain barrier. So it's a pill that you take. It's totally different. And after 5.5 weeks, I became allergic to it. So I was supposed to do 18 months of this. I did 5.5 weeks only.
How did you notice an allergy? What was
I was breaking out hives all over my body, and it was getting worse every day, taking Benadryl and steroids to try and keep my body from doing it, and it just kept coming. I had drugging myself all day with Benadryl and steroids, and it just kept getting worse. So they said, that's it. We have to stop. And then the radiation, it's killing off the tumor, and my body had a really strong reaction to it. So it's dying off really, really quickly. And because of that, there's nowhere for it to go. There's no lymphatic system. There's nowhere for the dead cells to go. It's trapped in your skull. And so it started causing massive swelling in my brain. And then I started having seizures, really bad seizures, where I'd fall on the floor in a restaurant and be seizing for 10 minutes, and just horrible, 10 to 12 seizures a day because of the swelling.
Oh my gosh.
And then I lost all capabilities on my left side. Couldn't use my hand or my arm, my leg. I couldn't barely walk. It was tough. It was really tough.
Were you in the hospital the whole time? Were you
No,
at
I was
home?
I was home.
How did you deal with having young children at that time?
Not well. I was in bed, I'd say for a good almost 2 years, in and out. Just trying to manage. They would come to me. We'd all get in bed together. We'd watch cartoons and eat bananas and cereal and just be in bed. And we'd just all hang out in my bed and just, I'd get up when I could and just lay on the floor with them. I was determined not to let my daughter miss out on the things that I did with my son because I was sick. I never felt sick. I felt sick from treatment, but I wasn't really sick. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that. I was just having issues with the treatment.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to go to the baby classes and I'm going to go to the gymnastics classes. Even if I have to lay on the floor and do it, I'm going to do it. So I did. I couldn't drive, so someone would have to drive me. We had 24-hour care, whether it was my mom, my mother-in-law. We'd had sign-up sheets for friends to come and sit with me. I couldn't be alone because of the seizures. It was a lot for my husband. He had to learn so much, about taking care of a baby and filling all my prescriptions. He got to know the names of the pharmacists, and now he knew my Social Security number. Of course, men don't know these things, but he had to learn all of these things. And so he really stepped up. He was amazing during this time. But I just didn't want to. My whole motivation for living was my kids. And, like I said, I'd worked so hard to have them.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear was not being there for them, dying. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of leaving my children.
Yeah.
You don't want someone else raising your kids. I just had them.
Yeah.
And so that was my biggest fear. So I made myself get up. I made myself do things. With one hand, it was really difficult to try and change a diaper or get my daughter dressed or do all those things, make food. But I did it the best I could. I just kept going.
What was your prognosis at that time? What did they tell you?
7 to 20 years. At 7 years, I would have been only 50-something. I'm like, that's unacceptable. 20 years, I'd be 60. That's unacceptable, right? I want to see my kids graduate high school. I want to see them get married, So it was just about, now it's about me. What can I do? What's in my control that I can do to help myself? They can't help me anymore. They're like, you're done. After radiation chemo, you're done. You get kicked out of the nest. And it's like, well, now what? What do I do? You're just done with me? So...
Is that really what it, like, is that the feeling that you...
Yeah, that was the feeling. Now what?
Wow.
And I'm dragging my leg behind me and I can't use my arm or my hand and my face has palsy in it and that's it. You can't do the chemo anymore. Radiation's over. You can only radiate an area once, especially the brain. That's it. So, yeah, I felt like I was kind of on my own at that point. So I radically changed my diet. Something that felt like it was in my control, you know, just change everything. Non-GMO, organic, low sugar, low dairy, all those things. I just radically changed everything. Tried to work out when I could, reading books about survivors. And, I just go to this. They had a brain cancer survivor stories website, and I would just go on there constantly and read about people who had survived because I just wanted positive thoughts in my head. I didn't want doom and gloom. We would laugh. We'd watch sitcoms constantly and stand-up comedy, just laughing. My husband and I have a really good sense of humor, and we had tumor humor. We would just laugh.
Tumor humor.
It's like, I need that like a hole in the head, or, what I mean? He'd call me numbskull because my skull was numb, and just like little things like that, no brainer. It's a no brainer.
Oh, that's,
so we had constant tumor humor in the house, and just laughing as much as we could, laughing and doing things with the kids that brought joy.
Laughter's a great medicine.
It is. It's the best, actually. And having an amazing support system. I went to radiation, 30 times? And I had a different driver every time. Every time. 30 different people drove me to radiation. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Even having that many people in your life.
Right. All our friends
you.
threw benefit concert for us. They raised $30,000 for us. We had so much love and so much support. And having a good support system is one of the main things about survival. Is you need support system. You need all those things. You need to have faith and, deepen your spirituality, whatever that is for you. You need to change your diet. You need to have herbs and supplements. I took lots of, researched all the best supplements for cancer and things like that. And just hope and just, lots of positive
Were there
stuff
things
in my
too
life.
that you were reading about other survivor stories where you like picking things that
Yes.
they did?
Yes.
And trying what helped others?
There's a great book called Radical Remission. And what it is a woman, a doctor, an oncologist, went around and interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of cancer patients. And for the people who had survived cancer, whether because of treatment, without treatment, or when treatment had failed them. And thousands of people who were survivors who weren't supposed to survive. And she found that among all these thousands of people, they all had 9 things in common. 9 things. And so I read this book, Radical Remission, which goes through the 9 things, and I realized that I'd already done all of these things.
Do you
Instinctively.
know them by heart?
I can try.
Yeah.
I have them in my book.
Or
I
half
list
of
them
them?
all. Yes, I will say radically changing your diet, getting rid of negative things out of your life. Toxic people, if it's that, whatever it is, eliminating
A
negative.
job that's stressing you.
A job that's stressing you, all those things, eliminating negative things, introducing more positive things, more joy and whatever into your life, deepening your faith, whatever that means to your spirituality. What are some of the other ones?
I guess the listeners have to read your book.
Yes.
To find out the other ones.
Herbs and supplements.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they'll keep coming to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's 5 so far. But it's all those things. Yeah, to me, it was common sense things that I did instinctively. So I read that book. I read a book called Mind Over Medicine about placebo effect and how important that is and things like that, where if you think it and believe it, you can change how your body reacts to it.
I was just thinking when you were listing the 9
5
traits.
things.
Well, yes. The phrase that came to mind was mind over matter, and how this is the power of mind over matter.
Yeah.
And then, what you just said.
She tells a story in the book, Mind Over Medicine. She tells a story about a man who was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. And they kind of said, go home, you're going to die. Just go home and go into palliative care or whatever. He decided to move back to Italy, where his family was from. And he just gardened and spent time with friends and, all that stuff, eating all the things that he loved to eat, the Mediterranean diet. And he lived for another 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's because you're surrounding yourself with joy and family, and you're not thinking about all the prognosis, because they always say there's an expiring date, and I never thought. Someone asked me, when did you finally feel like you had cancer? And I said, I never felt like I had cancer. I wouldn't believe it. I just kind of didn't let that sink into my brain.
Isn't that so interesting that Debbie said the same thing?
Yeah, I've been thinking that this whole time.
We had a guest on who was a friend of Terrence, who unfortunately passed away from cancer after years and years and years. But she said the same thing. She even went to the doctors and said, like, you made a mistake.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I don't feel it. I don't have it. Like, what are you telling me? Like, there's nothing.
Right. I did. Like I said, the treatment made me feel sick. I never felt sick from the cancer. I felt the weakness. Obviously, I knew it was there. I'm not stupid. I could see it in the MRI, and I felt it in my hand. But I never felt sick. And, we'd walk into the cancer center at the hospital, and I told my husband, I said, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I just wouldn't let myself think that I'm going to die of this. That just was never in my head. Like I said, I was afraid of leaving my kids, but I wasn't afraid that I was going to die of this. I just never let that enter my mind. So I think all of that stuff, the mind over matter, the positive thinking, keeping joy in your life and getting rid of negative people. I even told my parents, I can't take care of you anymore. Like, I can't, I can't. I have to take care of myself. I have to put myself number one. I was a people pleaser. I grew up as a people pleaser.
Of course. A woman, a mother.
Right?
Yeah. That's what we
so
do,
I
right?
just said, that's what we do. And I'm like, I have to put myself first. And, it was tough. It was a transition for my husband, my kids. I'm like, no, I'm going to go and take a nap. Or I'm going to go and get a massage. Or I'm going to go pick up a salad for myself, because that's what I need right now. I have to take care of myself. I can't put you guys first anymore. If I'm going to get well, I have to do this. So that's kind of what I did. And I think all of that we need to do often. I still make myself do those things sometimes, like, and we joke about it. Mom's going to go get a massage, or Mom's going to go pick up a salad or whatever. If I want it, I'm going to go get it now.
Yeah.
We
should do that before we have cancer.
Yes, of course. We have to realize at some point we're not putting ourselves first. If I want kittens, I'm going to go get some kittens.
There you go. Right. I'm going to get my third cat.
Because before I got sick, my husband was like, no more animals, no more animals, no more animals. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I got sick. I'm like, wait, I didn't think I was saying no to more animals ever. Right? Like, no. I want cats. So I got kittens, and we didn't even ask. We didn't just got kittens.
I have cancer. Let me get my cats.
Yeah, I want kittens. I need joy in my life.
Oh my God.
And it was the best thing ever. It made me so happy.
Joy.
Yeah.
Right? Animals bring you so much joy.
Oh, so much joy.
Right. And when I talk to people, I counsel people a lot now who have cancer. And I say, do you have any pets? Get yourself a pet. Get an old pet. And you have to have something to take care of, and you need to have something to reason to get out of bed, and you need something that brings you joy, something that will cuddle you, and get a pet. You can't just be alone in your house.
That's
you need
always
something.
Excited when you come home.
Yes.
Yeah.
They need you. They need you to get out of bed. My kids needed me to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so I think
it gives you a purpose.
It gives you a purpose. Yeah. And they bring you joy. So it's like you get something from them, they get something from you. I always tell people, if you don't have something that needs you and a reason to get out of bed, get something. It doesn't have to be a kitten or a puppy that are so much work. Get an older pet,
Yeah. Oh, no, don't get a puppy.
No, don't get a puppy.
Sarah's laughing because I was going to get an older dog and I ended up with a puppy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just happens.
And he's so wonderful, but he's also so much work.
Menace.
a menace. Yeah.
But he gives me purpose,
joy and
joy.
love.
And he's special. I mean, he's really a special, wonderful puppy. His parents, both parents were
therapy dogs.
Oh,
wow.
And you kind of feel that.
So he's got good genes.
In his genes.
Yeah.
He's really special.
Yeah. And I think I needed him over the summer. I was so down in the dumps, and I joked that I needed an emotional support dog.
Yeah.
And what did I get?
Yeah, you got that. My boy cat that we adopted became my boyfriend. He would cuddle up, and I called him my boyfriend because he would just cuddle up under my chin, and was so smushy and just lovey. And I'm like, oh, here's my boyfriend.
But it's so true, the power of positive thinking and having a purpose.
Yes, laughing. Just laughter.
Is cancer kind of the only illness where that really makes a difference?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would make a difference for everybody. I have a friend right now who's suffering from COPD, an emphysema, and he's terrified. And I said, you have to stop thinking that this is a death sentence because he keeps reading. I'm like, stop reading. Stop researching right now. There are people who have outlived their prognosis for every disease. There are the Steve Jobs who survived pancreatic cancer for 10 years when the prognosis is 1 year. There is one girl who survived rabies, which is incredible because that's 100% fatal.
Yeah.
There are people who have survived everything. And we found out later, the rest of my story is I went and had another surgery and found out I had grade 4 cancer. We didn't even know it.
Oh my gosh.
Which is 100% terminal. And if I had known that before, it might have changed my outlook.
Whole outlook.
My whole outlook. I would have been terrified, and they would have said you have 12 to 18 months to live.
It would have changed everything.
Everything.
Well, so take us back to the story. So the chemo stopped working, but you kept with the radiation, and then they kind of were done with
me.
Regimen.
The brain swelling started happening, all the seizures, and my inability to walk and use my hand and my arm. And my doctor at Cedars, I love him. He was a great oncologist. And he said, you know what? I don't like where this is going. Let's try a different chemo and another drug called Avastin, which could reduce the swelling and get your function back. And so I'm like, all right, let's try it. They both have really severe side effects, or they can cause strokes and leukemia and holes in your GI tract. But at that point, I was becoming non-functional.
Yeah.
And the risks were getting, the long-term risk of brain damage from the swelling was becoming a real threat.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's try this. And my husband and I were like, okay, let's try it. It's worth the risk at this point because what's going to happen to me if we don't do it? And within a couple weeks, I could use my hand again. And I was not limping anymore. I got all the function back, and it was amazing. Eventually, I became unable to use the second chemo. It was an older chemo that they used before they had the newer one that I became allergic to. This one was called CCNU. And my blood counts dropped, so I had to stop using that one. And I'm thinking to myself, my instincts are, your body's saying, you don't need this. That's what I'm telling myself. You've rejected chemo twice, literally rejected it. So I just stopped. I'm saying, I'm done with this. I'm just going to think positive that the tumor's shrinking, the cells are dying, the tumor's dying really fast, and I'm done with this. But my oncologist at Cedars said, you know what? I think if you go to UCLA, I think they can get it out. I think you should go to UCLA.
Like remove the
tumor. Yeah, I think they can get it out.
To that doctor that you talked to
The
before?
original doctor, yes. And by this point, they had settled their dispute with my insurance company. So I actually could go to UCLA at this point.
Oh, fantastic.
So I went there. They have a brain tumor conference every year. So I'd gone to this conference and talked to a couple of surgeons and asked them. There's a lot more, obviously, detail to all this story, and it's all in my book.
Yeah.
If you want to know all the details.
Yes.
But I'm really glossing over it because it's a long story. But I was able to go to UCLA, and I went and saw the same doctor. Her name's Dr. Linda Liao, and she's amazing. Her mom died of brain cancer, and she became a brain surgeon.
That's a beautiful story in and of itself.
Yeah.
That her mom passed from it, and she became a doctor to cure people or
Isn't that
help
amazing?
them.
I know.
Wow.
And married a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So I ended up going to her and she said, I can get it out. I think I can get it out. So like weeks later, I ended up having a second brain surgery, which to me was the bravest thing I'd ever done because it's not easy. You don't come out of brain surgery unscathed.
Yeah.
You are forever changed. Forever changed. It changes everything about you. So I went in and had a second brain surgery, and they got it all out. I mean,
Is
at the
that
time,
when they found out that it was stage 4?
yes.
Once they had it out?
Once they had it out, they did find grade 4. It was grade 3 and grade 4. So they still had grade 3 cells in there, but also grade 4 cells. So, yeah, if we hadn't gotten it out, it probably would have turned and become much worse. We don't know. We'll never know. But yes. And then they said, we recommend you do a little bit more chemo. And I said, I decided not to. So I said, I'm going to be okay.
Where did you take the strength from to go with sometimes like against doctor's orders?
I've always had a lot of medical issues in my life. Since I was a child, I had meningitis and encephalitis at 13. I've been in hospitals in and out my whole life with all kinds of different things, the babies and the miscarriages and the surgeries. I had a uterine birth defect. I mean, I've had medical issues my whole life. I ended up going to medical assistant school and becoming a medical assistant at one point. I've had so many jobs. But I just I'm a big advocate for myself. I'm a very big and that's another thing. That was another one of the 9 things. Trust your instincts.
Oh, yes.
Trust your instincts.
That's number 6.
That was number 6. Trust your instincts. Yes. And so I did that, and I am an advocate for myself. And that's why I'm always saying, get more opinions. If someone says, my doctor said this, get another opinion, get 3 opinions, and research and do what you think sounds right to me. And that's why the whole, I'm not going to do any more chemo because I felt, and someone even said to me, you rejected it twice. Maybe you don't need it. Clearly, I'm now, 12 years out? I didn't need it. So I'm not saying other people don't do chemo. Obviously, I did it, and I tried as many times as I could. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not suggesting anyone should do anything that I did. I'm just saying what worked for me. I just think I've become a much stronger person over the years of my life. Having to deal with so many medical issues, I've become smart about that,
I feel like that's a very difficult thing, even when you have 3 doctors and 3 opinions, and then you have your own thoughts in it too. It's like, which way do I go?
There's 2 different kinds of people. There are the people who just do what their doctor says. I'm just going to do what they say, and I'm going to listen to what they say. Oh, I have this much lifespan. And then there are people who are like, no, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to research. I'm going to fight as hard as I can. And I've met both. I've met people who are fighters, and I've met people who just kind of give up and just don't even try to change anything. And it's so frustrating for me.
Yeah.
But I fought hard, really hard.
It seems like you've been in the driver's seat of your whole journey of healing.
Yeah.
Which is very empowering. And I think I would struggle with giving myself permission because I'm a self-doubter, and I would think, well, I just don't know as much as the doctors, or I would just get in my own head and I would get in my own way.
Well, even with my daughter, I had her at 41, and the doctor said, oh, you have a 1% chance of having a healthy baby. And I'm like,
what a sentence.
Bullshit. Because all the 4 miscarriages I had were all healthy babies. They all came back normal.
They were healthy, yeah.
I had a uterine birth defect.
Yeah.
And so I went and saw a geneticist who said, no, that's untrue. Your ovaries are really healthy. Yes, you're 41, but genetically you're really healthy, and your babies have been normal, and that's not true. So I just don't listen to negativity. I just don't. I just I feel like I can, so I will. I just don't listen to it.
How did you learn that? Is that something that somebody modeled for you?
No. It's something I had to overcome. Yeah. Like I said, being a people pleaser my whole life, I wasn't anyone who stood up for I never stood up for myself.
Yeah.
Until probably my mid to late 20s. And I went to therapy a lot. I do believe in therapy.
Yeah.
And so I just had to stand up for myself and learn how to do that. And not that I always did, my parents still, it was hard for me to stand up to, I felt like bullying at times.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a long time to overcome that feeling of still feeling like a child to your parents. But I just somehow overcame it, with the help of therapy and just the feeling that I have to do this to survive, I just don't know.
Learning that at 25 is so young. It's awesome that you at a young age were able to shift that perspective of yourself. And
yeah, you wouldn't believe that I was a shy person.
no.
I was so shy my whole life. I wouldn't talk. I was quiet. It was difficult for me to make friends. You'd never believe that I was a super shy person. Now I have no trouble standing up for myself, talking to people, advocating for people. I think also my job as a child specialist, I would talk in front of large groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
I would go into people's homes and tell them what to do. I had to tell them what to do. They were coming to me like, help me. And I had to help them and tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And so that helped me a lot. And talking in front of groups of people, I think that really helped me because that was not natural for me at all.
Yeah.
To be in a leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
That actually helped me come out of my shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such an important thing for me to teach my daughter to stand up for herself.
Yes. We're not taught that as women.
No, not at all.
Mm-mm.
And I never did. I'm the same way as you. Like I never did.
It's a lesson I'm currently learning.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to say it took me way, way, way longer to learn a little bit to stand up for myself. And I'm in my 40s, late 40s. So in my 20s, I was not even close to, like I had everybody just ran over me.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to reel it back because my kids will call me a Karen. They're like, okay, Mom, just stop. Okay. Stop. Reel it in. I'm like, okay. Because now I just stand up for myself. I don't let anyone walk all over me ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So yeah, I have to sometimes know when and when not to talk.
But that's better.
And fight for myself.
Rather that way than the other way.
If I'm right, I'm going to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let people walk all over me.
No, you're not going to be a wallflower.
No.
It's so hard to watch, though, in the young kids, how they struggle with. My daughter really struggles with it when she gets like teased or bullied at school and stuff. And she tells me about it. She just went in the corner and cried by herself.
My daughter's been through that. Yeah.
Oh, and I just want to go there and to just, there's nothing you can do other than helping her through it and talking her through it and telling her.
But you do such a good job of empowering her and telling her how to stand up for herself.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, be an example, too. You have to be an example. And my kids see me in public being an example of someone who doesn't let people walk all over them.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, there are things that I've done and that my children have seen me do over this period of time, things that have really scared me. Jumping into a pool really scares me because I'm partially paralyzed now on my left side still from the second surgery. I have a lot of weakness. I'm partially paralyzed. Swimming is really scary for me. And so doing things that scare me in front of them, and I make sure that I do it in front of them so that they see me. If I fail at something, I always go back and do it again because I want them to see that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you're doing it in spite of being scared. And that's something I always try and teach my daughter especially. It's okay to be scared.
Like they say, right? But you're scared? Well, then do it scared.
Do it scared. Yeah, exactly. So that's something big that I learned is that, going into a second brain surgery was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, knowing I'm going to wake up paralyzed. Oh my God. It's like, how do you even imagine that?
How old were your kids at that point?
The second surgery, my daughter was 2.5.
So that was, the whole thing was over a span of like 2 years now. But
I had surgery 2 years apart. Yeah.
Or like 1.5.
2 years of surgeries and then another year of recovering and being in rehab after my second surgery because I was paralyzed, couldn't swallow, couldn't talk, all that stuff, walking again. Yeah. It devastated my whole body. And it's weird because I laugh different, I sneeze different, I cry different. Like I'm telling you, it really changes your whole everything. When I yawn, my left arm goes up in the air and shakes. Like it just...
Does it really?
It does. And my husband would look at me and go, stop it. Because it's up here doing this.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. It's weird.
That is interesting.
Yeah, when I would cry, like for like a year after the surgery, I sounded like an animal wailing. Like I didn't even recognize my own voice or anything. It's just the brain is just so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so strange. But yeah, you don't come out of it without something. And luckily, it wasn't in my cognitive area in the front where I know people who it has affected their ability to read, speak, understand things. So I'm lucky that it wasn't in that area for me. It's just motor skills and things like that, because I think that's a lot harder to recover from. So
the first doctor was right that it was in the motor part?
No, he was wrong.
He was wrong.
He said it was 5% in the motor area and 95% in the premotor, but it was actually all in the premotor area. And that's the area that initiates movement. So, for example, nothing is automatic for me. I have to think, move my hand, open my hand, step up, go over. Everything has to be thought about first. So it's pushing up against the motor area. But for me, it's more about now that nothing happens automatically. My brain doesn't operate on that side without me thinking about it first. So they weren't sure they got it all out at first, and then they realized what was left was scar tissue, probably left over from radiation. So there's still something you can see on the MRI, but it's dead tumor.
Do you still have to do tests frequently and all the checkups and everything?
Yeah, it goes from every 2 months to every 4 months to every 6 months, and now I'm at every 9 months I get an MRI. So I'm 12 years out now. They don't expect anything to happen. But again, it's usually something about it's not a matter of when. It's just not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. So we keep a watch on it still. It's kind of always in the back of your mind. Pun not intended, but another tumor humor. But it's, a headache is never just a headache. You're always thinking, oh God, what is that weird sensation or weird sharp pain I'm having in my head? And if I feel like I'm tripping more or I'm stuttering more, because still I have sometimes a hard time speaking if I talk too fast. If something's odd, I'll think, oh gosh, this is concerning me.
Right.
Maybe I should step up my MRI a little bit sooner. But normally those go away, and I just keep, and everything's been clear, no recurrence. So I'm super lucky. I'm gonna knock on wood right now. But yeah, I've been very lucky. Yeah.
How is it affecting your life now, 12 years later?
It's a lot of adjustments have to be made. I've fallen quite a few times. Last year I broke my hand falling, and a few months before that I fell and cut my face open.
You don't have the reflexes anymore?
I can't land. No, I have no balance because this whole side is weak. And so my balance is really off. If I turn too suddenly or try and step over something, my left leg won't automatically follow my right leg. So like I said, I have to think about it. And sometimes I try and move like I used to, fast. I'm a fast walker. I move fast. Everything is fast. And so I'm still not used to having to do things slowly. When I get out of the car, I open the door and I put my foot down. I have to slowly shift my left foot so that it's pointing in the right direction so that I don't trip over it. Everything has to be slow, and that's not my nature. So I fall a lot. Sometimes I just fall for no reason. I've fallen upstairs. Going upstairs, that's a special kind of talent. Upstairs, downstairs, sitting on a rock, I've just tipped over. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know where my body is in space. It's called my proprioception. I don't know where my body is. So for the first year, I would just constantly bump my shoulder into walls going through a doorway because I didn't realize how close I was. I just, there's a thing. I just don't know where I am. So I hurt myself quite a bit, and I've had to go through more every year or so. I go to physical therapy and try and work on those things. I've had problems with my knees that have really hurt. It's a constant situation, my body is, that I have to maintain and deal with. There's always something going on that I have to deal with. I don't get to do activities. We went to the mountains. I can't sled because I can't stop myself. I can't put my arm down and stop myself. It's dangerous for me. I could really hurt myself. We're very afraid that I'll fall and hurt my good hand, the one I can use, or hit my head, or, these are things I have to really think about. We installed a railing just up 2 steps to my front door and a railing in the shower, and just little things that are just so dangerous. But my kids, now they're older. My daughter's 14, my son's 19. They help me. They come get the groceries out of the car, and they automatically now put their arms out for me to hold on to. It's really sweet. It's very sweet. My daughter will put her arm out, then I can hold on to it. Yeah. It's very sweet. They've become very compassionate people.
And I think wonderful
that's
for their
the plus.
life.
Yeah. You wonder, what's the good that's going to come out of this? There has to be something good that's going to come from this, because it's why is this happening to me? And I always thought, well, you don't want someone to have a perfect life because they have no empathy, no compassion. They have no sense of, I don't know. It's just something that I just think perfect people just don't have that in them. People have perfect lives. So this is something they've had to overcome. This has made an impact on their lives. My daughter read my book. So she was so young, she didn't remember all of those things that I went through. She was so little. My son doesn't want to read it yet. He's like, I will later. Because he remembers more. He remembers me being taken away in ambulances from having seizures. And he remembers me being on the floor having seizures and having to call my husband, and he's sitting there crying. And so it's too real for him. It's too soon, too soon. So, but they've become very compassionate people. They help me without complaining, and they see how much I struggle with some things,
That's a wonderful thing for them to learn, though. How did the book come about? It started with a diary.
It started with the blog that I started on the Cedars-Sinai website. It's called Care Pages, that they offer to people so that you don't have to keep calling or emailing every single person in your life to tell them updates about what's happening with your care. So they had that forum, and I started it right away. Knowing because there was so much happening so fast. I had to make quick decisions. Everybody wants to know. And I had to make quick decisions about everything. So it started with me with an introduction and then me talking about all the doctors I was seeing and what each appointment was about. So I did this blog every day. I wrote in it, and people would email me saying, "You haven't written today. I can't go to sleep."
Oh, they wanted an update.
What's happening today? I had some certain friends who were like, I can't go to sleep yet because I don't know what happened today. It was very sweet. And then they would tell their friends, and they would tell their friends. I had 300 people, and I don't know 300 people. So I had 300 people following my blog. It was very nice. People would message. They could after I'd post something, they could write me a message. And so that became really a huge source of comfort for me and support for me. I would have someone saying, we're going to Israel. We're going to go pray at the Wailing Wall for you. I'm going to the Vatican. I'm going to get, pray at the Vatican, get some holy water for you. I mean, I had the most amazing support. I had people at their church sewing quilts for me. It was just I had the most amazing, from my clients to people I went to junior high with, were just constantly reaching out to me. I had people cooking for me, the food delivery list, and people would send their housekeeper to my house. People would send a massage therapist to my house. I mean, it was just amazing. I had the best support. And that's a huge thing, too, is having an amazing support system. I would add that to the 9 things if it's not already on there, because it's huge. And so all those people that I would write every day, and they would message me. And it just became a thing where I would write. Sometimes I felt the need to write twice a day if I was having a bad day or something good happened. I'd write anecdotes about my kids. My son would say funny things, and I would write about that because it would make people laugh, and just it made me laugh. And there was embarrassing things in there and just funny things. But so it's not all doom and gloom, this blog. You'd think it would be really depressing, but it's not. There's a lot of humor in there, a lot of funny situations that happened. And it was fun to write, and I would have a song of the day sometimes. I would quote people that Eleanor Roosevelt was one of my favorite people to quote because she has some really amazing quotes.
She does.
Yeah, she's amazing, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. was one of my favorite quotes of hers. So it just became very cathartic for me, very therapeutic for me. And I just did it for I did it until I think my last real posts were like 2015, and I started in 2012. And then, of course, I updated it in 2020 just to say how things were going. And that was probably my last post that went into the book. So it was just, something that made sense to turn into a book and thinking it can help people. This is the book I wish I had when I was going through it. There are no books about people with brain cancer because most people don't survive. You don't realize that. There was one book by a man who had brain cancer, and when I went to get it, he'd already died. I'm like, I can't read this book. This is so depressing.
That's not helpful.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
So I needed books that were uplifting and positive. And so I constantly reading about, one of my doctors said, read triumph over adversity stories. And so I was constantly doing those, reading triumph over adversity and triumph over adversity movies. And so to me, my book is a triumph over adversity book. And it gives hope. Whatever disease you have, if it's chronic or if it's, terminal, whatever, it's uplifting in a way, and it's positive, and it has a happy ending. More importantly, it has a happy ending. You know that it's going to end happy because here I am. So, and there is humor in there, and there's learning things. I list things that I've learned and what to do and what not to do, and things that I got scammed on because people prey on your vulnerability. And so there's a lot of scam artists out there. Do this treatment or do that treatment for $15,000, whatever. So there's things I learned and things I warned people about.
All the comments that you got from so many people that you didn't even know, were there people in there too that were suffering from the same thing? Were there cancer survivors?
I met a few brain cancer people, and a few of them have died, sadly. I have one friend who has survived longer than I have, which is amazing. She found out when she was pregnant that she had brain cancer and went through surgery and all that while she was pregnant. And her daughter's now 16 or 17.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So it's very inspirational to me. And we're in contact with each other. Yeah. But yeah, I've lost a few people. I lost a few friends to it. And that's really sad. And I have survivor guilt about that because it's, it's terrible. People have tried to help, people have counseled, but don't make it. I'm part of a group called Immerman's Angels, and it's a group of people with cancer who are survivors who become mentor angels to people who have cancer now. And so they will hook you up with someone who has the same type of cancer as you. And
survived it.
That are survived it, yes. And so I've mentored 2 people with brain cancer so far. One was an 88-year-old woman, and now I'm about to counsel a woman who's like 35 with with 2 young children.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really great because that's really what I like to do. I like to talk to people, and I like to give people hope and tell them my stories.
Yeah.
And so that's a really great thing.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing you would want other people to learn from your story?
Well, obviously get multiple opinions, like I said, because my first surgery was not great. They said they couldn't remove it. Another surgeon did remove it. You want to get different opinions. Everybody's going to say something different. There's so many things. Don't believe that you have an expiration date. You don't. Everybody's survived something. So just believe, keep positivity into your life. And I don't know.
That's a hard one.
I think it taps into the power of manifesting.
Staying strong and believing, and that's even when you have really bad days, and I'm pretty sure you had really, really bad days, hundreds of them.
There are posts in there where I say, help me God, please, I need help from my friends today. I need help, come. And they would come and take me to a movie, or we'd go, but I need my friends right now. I'm struggling. I need help.
But that's also great that you're able to ask for help.
That's the thing.
That's something you should take away from your story too.
Yes.
Ask for help.
But that's so hard. It's so hard. At the beginning, I had a hard time accepting help.
Yeah.
People who wanted to help, That was hard. And then I had to learn to ask for help. That was even harder. But I became good at it.
Yeah.
I became really good at it.
And you got to always, when you have a problem accepting help, you got to always turn it around and think, do you like helping other people? And most people say, yes, it feels great. If I have a best friend and she's in need, there's nothing better than if I can help her, if I can make it better. So don't take that away from your friends.
Right.
So let them help you.
Let them help you.
Because you're taking that away from your friends. They want to, it's the best thing for them too, for your family, for your friends, for whatever. If they can really make a difference, let them. But we have such a hard time, especially women, mothers. We can always do everything ourselves.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. Just, if it works and stuff. I did a whole move with with the tiniest car you can imagine in Germany, Opel Corsa. I don't know if you know these cars, but I moved from one apartment to the other and I drove with this car, I think, 50 times back and forth. And did everything myself because I didn't want to inconvenience anybody else to ask if they could help me move. And if any of my friends heard it afterwards, like, Sarah, what?
I get it.
Why didn't you call me? First of all, I have a bigger car. Second of all, I had nothing to do. I could have helped you, but I was just like, no, I don't want to inconvenience anybody.
I still do that. I still do it though. My husband, I'll be carrying all the bags from the car and my husband will be like, why aren't the kids helping you? Why aren't the kids helping you? And he'll call them and send them out. I'm like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. It's okay. Sometimes he wants to help me too much. And I'm like, I can do it. I'm okay.
You also don't want to feel like you can't do it anymore.
Right, that's true
the
too.
other side. It's like you still want to feel like a functioning human being.
I don't want to feel like helpless, and I don't want to be a burden on my kids.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to be a burden to my kids, and I don't want them to resent me. In my book, someone asked me in the messages, what do you think people should do if they have a friend who has cancer? And so I made a long list. And I said, don't say, if there's anything you need, call me. Because no one will.
Yeah.
No one will ever call you and say, I need this.
Right.
Just do it. Go over to their house and do their laundry, fold their laundry. Call them. The best thing someone did was called me at the store. She said, I'm at Whole Foods right now. Send me your list. And she wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you could do. Send them gift cards so that my husband could take the kids out to dinner. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Just do it. Don't ask. What do you need? Just do it. Because no one will say, I need you to come and fold my laundry.
No.
I need you to come and organize stuff. Go through my mail. Because those things feel overwhelming. When I was sitting there in my bed, opening the mail felt overwhelming. I had one hand. I couldn't even use my other hand. And it's just, someone came and organized my office. Like, those things are amazing. That helps so much. But I wasn't going to ask someone to do that.
Right.
So those kinds of things, just do it. Step up, you know. So that's kind of what I try to. But some people don't want help. I had a friend who had cancer, and she didn't want people in her house. She didn't want people coming over. So everyone's different. You know what? Just go at their pace.
You got to read the room a little bit, right? If it's like overstepping or if it's really helpful. But I think you can find that out pretty quickly if it's welcomed or not.
Absolutely.
But for that, you got to just do it and
you just
try
have
it
to
out.
do it and see what happens. Yeah.
You
know, I think no one's going to really turn down food or, go and doing their grocery shopping.
Yeah.
But some people just don't want people in their house touching their laundry or whatever. It's just, you have to see what someone's comfortable with. But I do a long list in there of what to say and what to do and, what to say and what to do when someone's sick. And, this is a bad thing to say. This is a good thing to say. And
everybody needs to read this book. It's called Welcome to Katie's Brain, a brain cancer survivor's story. That's the important word here. So it has a happy ending. She's sitting here by Katie Kaiser Smith. Please.
It's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble, Apple, anywhere. And I'm recording an audiobook right now.
Yeah, people go to the bookstore and buy it there.
Yeah. Anywhere online you can buy it. Soon my audiobook will be available on Audible. So that will be nice too.
Are you recording this yourself?
I'm recording it myself.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a process.
Were there a lot of things that you also forgot when you read about them that you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot that happened?
Oh, yeah. Tons of stuff like that. And I'm so grateful I wrote it down.
Right.
Like,
that's the great thing about having it all written down, because
Right.
there's probably an episode of your life that it's a total blur.
Yeah. I never would have been able to remember the details. I mean, I journal for my kids and I have journals since they were babies, but this kind of thing, the little things, the little details, the funny things they said that are documented and all the pictures that we took, because one of my doctors said, you have an opportunity right now to take 1 million photos, to make videos, to write things down, because a friend of his had died from a stroke at age 40. Suddenly, he's like, take this opportunity to do all those things, to make sure you're in the photos and the videos and write things down, because this is an opportunity for you. So I recommend that too. You know, everyone should act as if they're going to die. Really, you know, and make your will and I had to get all that stuff out of my way. And then once I did all that, I could relax because it felt overwhelming. You know, before I went into my first surgery, I had to do my will and plan my funeral. And because it's brain surgery, you don't know if you're going to come out of it. And I wrote stuff for my kids, things I wanted for their future. And it was very hard, but I had to do it. And then I felt okay when it was done. I felt a relief. I don't have to think about that or worry about that anymore. But yeah.
And it's not a chronology you can write after the fact, because you are in like a fog when you're in it.
Yeah.
And you don't remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was overwhelming. And then I went back because I'd remembered things that I'd forgotten, and I went back and added some things too. So there's things that I'd forgotten, but there are also things that I added because I remembered them after the fact. So it was great. It was really amazing having that blog. I just highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Because you'll never remember.
No.
Never
it's
remember
impossible.
all those things. Yeah, it's impossible. And it's so cathartic too. Even if it's just for you or just for your family, it's very cathartic. But the support that I got from everybody was incredible. Some people don't like to talk about personal things to people, but I've always been the kind of person who I'm like diarrhea of the mouth. I just want to get it out there because I feel like the more people will know, the more support I'm going to get back. You know, especially when I was having miscarriages, I talked about it because I felt so many people don't talk about it, but I got so much wonderful support from people.
And you might support other people too by talking about it. Other people that feel alone with what they have.
Exactly.
And then they hear your story and like, oh, she went through this too.
I'm an oversharer. I think I overshare. That's why there's some really funny things in this book, because I overshare.
Well, I can't wait to read it. I will definitely get me a copy and I'm going to read it.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Well, we thank you that you were here.
Thank you for having me so much. It's been really fun.
It was wonderful to talk to you in person.
You too.
Finally.
Yeah.
I worked with your husband like 13 years ago,
That's
12 years ago.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I
Small
know.
world.
He always talked about you so highly.
He did? Oh, that was probably right when I was sick then.
No, it was before.
Before.
Yeah, 2012.
That's when I was diagnosed. 2012. May of 2012. So it was probably right before.
I moved here in February 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was right before I was diagnosed. That's crazy.
He took that photo of me and Adam Levine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I haven't seen this photo.
Oh, my daughter lost it the other day when she saw this photo because we're watching The Voice right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I interviewed him. She's like, what? And I showed her the photo on the Roosevelt Hotel rooftop. Yeah, Micah was there.
Yeah, he's photographed a lot of really cool people.
Oh, yes.
My daughter kind of feigns over some of the people he's photographed too. And my son too, because he's done a lot of rappers, a lot of sports people, Kobe Bryant multiple times. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Some of the people he's photographed, if you go to his website, you'll see all these people.
Yeah.
He did all that, the Britney Spears and the Justin Timberlakes and the, Ariana Grande, you can speak. But yeah, he did all those Disney people too back in the day. Yeah. So he's got a pretty cool.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you,
your
ladies.
story.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming all the way over here.
Absolutely. It's only an hour.
An hour anywhere in LA.
I know, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, thank you.